What's up, Marvel Snappers? Today we have a new featured location, Altar of Death. When you play a card here, destroy it and gain 2 energy next turn. Now this is a very interesting location and is probably going to shake up the game quite a bit. Not only does this throw the energy curves off, allowing you to play larger cards earlier on in the game, but you also do have to find a way to actually stick a card here if you want to win this location. There's a lot of cool things you can do with it, so I'm going to go over my top cards that will hopefully give you an idea of things to put in your deck and things to play around with for this featured location. For those of you that don't know, the featured location will be in 40% of games for the next 48 hours. We'll start by looking at some energy ramp, because a card like Psylocke will give you +1 energy on the following turn, and she only has 1 power, so you're not concerned if she gets destroyed, and then you have 3 energy on the following turn. So if you play this on turn 2, you will actually have 6 energy on turn 3, which is pretty ridiculous. There's also Electro, who gives you +1 permanent energy and has a negative ongoing effect, so having it be destroyed is actually a benefit. And then we have Wave that makes all cards in player's hand cost 4. Now one thing you can do with this is play this on turn 5, and that will give you 8 energy on turn 6 if you played it to Altar of Death, and that will actually allow you to play 2 of the 4 cost cards in your hand, and if your opponent did not play to the Altar of Death, they're going to be restricted to only playing 1. As if Sunspot wasn't a good enough card already, Sunspot should also be pretty fantastic for this location, since you're likely to end up with some excess energy if you're abusing it, and Sunspot will get even bigger than normal. And then there's destroy effect cards where you actually want them to be destroyed. Something like the Hood is fantastic to throw here. Not only do you lose the -2 power, but you gain the +2 energy for next turn, and you get the 6 power demon. And Mr. Negative should be great into this location, since you lose the -1 body, and the extra energy that you get from the Altar of Death will allow you to play a higher cost card that you drew before it could be inverted. Bucky is also fantastic because you get the +2 power, and you get the Winter Soldier, who will actually stay in the Altar of Death and give you some power presence there, potentially letting you win the location. Sabretooth could also be great for this location, since when it's destroyed, it returns to your hand and becomes 0 cost, which means you can repeatedly play it into the Altar of Death, getting that +2 energy, but you still get the 4 power that you can choose where to put it on the final turn. And lastly, Deadpool is going to be amazing for cards that you want to be destroyed, since it'll return to your hand and double its power, so you're going to be able to repeatedly do this while getting the +2 energy. Mysterio also seems like it'll be great for this location, since you can put the real Mysterio in a different location, but the illusions are played, and so the illusion should be destroyed in the Altar of Death, giving you the +2 energy while still allowing you to put power on the board. For trying to actually get some power into Altar of Death, Mr. Sinister could work well if you have a pretty early collection, since the Sinister clone will remain and you will get the +2 energy on the following turn. In Series 3, we also have Brood, who operates the same way, but puts 2 Broodlings into play, giving you extra power at the location. A card like White Tiger works in 2 different ways with this location. You can play White Tiger to a different location and potentially get the 7 power Spirit Tiger into the Altar of Death, but since the White Tiger's only 1 power, you can also sacrifice it on the altar to get +2 energy on the following turn while still getting 7 power onto the board. Doctor Doom should also be a great card for sticking a body into the Altar of Death. Since it puts the Doombots there, it won't actually count as being played, and they should stay there, giving you 5 power. Cards like Claw and Mr. Fantastic that put power into adjacent locations may also be a great way to win the Altar of Death. Movement cards are also a way to get some power into the Altar of Death, and Vision should be a fantastic way to do this, since you're likely to end up with some extra energy on a turn or 2, and the 5 cost of this card is less restrictive. You'll also be able to leverage cards like Nightcrawler or Captain Marvel to similar effect. Professor X can also be a great way to lock down the location, since once Professor X's ongoing effect is in play, you won't be able to have a card destroyed there, and if your opponent hasn't actually had a card stick there, Professor X might win the location all on its own and cut them off from future energy. You'll also be able to play it pretty early, so you could catch opponents by surprise. Storm will also be a great disruptor, since you will just change the location to flooded, and if your opponent is too reliant on the excess energy they're getting from the location, this could really mess them up. Armor should also completely mess up the opponent's plan to leverage the location, since once Armor's played, no cards can be destroyed there, and I'm making the assumption that they will not get +2 energy anymore. Zero cost cards like Wasp and Yellow Jacket could also be very interesting, since you can actually get multiple triggers early on from the location by playing these alongside another card, giving you +4 energy on the following turn, which could be really nuts. Hopefully this gave you some ideas to start brewing. This location is very complicated, and it's going to be really interesting to see what kind of decks come up out of this. You also need to be able to win the games that this location doesn't appear at, so deck building is going to be super interesting. As always, if you have any questions or feedback for me, make sure to leave those in the comment section below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one.